The depths are a hot topic of discussion at the moment. Of course, there's the Bargner statue that seems to be the hottest topic of all. Above everything else, I think we're all so enamored by the depths because it is all new. We weren't even sure of the area going into the release of the game. While the Sky Islands may house some more, like Zonai lore, that's not what we're thinking about right now. We want the new stuff, which is why I've decided to explore the depths today. But I'm going to take a look at something that's not that new at all. In fact, these items were found in the last game and were found way back in the timeline chronologically. Every hero up until the era of Wilds wore the same iconic green tunic, or at least some shade of it with a slightly different stylistic design. The hero's gear in the era of Wilds is a much different design and colour, with the hero donning a light blue. He can wear a tunic of Wilds in a sense, but that's something that we will discuss later. Upon exploring the depths, you can actually find the tunics that belong to every hero who's been allowed into the elusive third dimension. So first on the agenda, I want to discuss some interesting things I discovered when I was finding every single tunic. I wanted to see if where each tunic had been placed had any relevance to the hero's world in that past. As an example, do the hero of Twilight's gear match up with somewhere that was in the era of Twilight's map? Keep in mind I am trying to stretch with some of these. I don't think a theory has to be spot on. Sometimes speculation is far more fun than that in my opinion. So first let's start with the hero of time, and I couldn't find much that connects the depths to this map, but there is one interesting, albeit potentially less influential point. The Trousers of Time are found in the Gerudo Canyon Mine, which above land is in the Highlands. Now if we're really stretching, lining up the location of Gerudo Highlands and Ocarina of Time's map, I think that this section leading into the Gerudo Desert is likely to be Gerudo Valley in the map of the Era of Time. I think it's interesting that the valley doesn't stop by going to the left and greeting you to the desert like it does in the Era of Wilds. Instead it rises and you find yourself at the Gerudo Fortress, and more interestingly, Desert Colossus. So at the moment I kinda believe that Desert Colossus and the Gerudo Highlands in the Era of Wilds is one and the same. One obvious problem with this is, how does the desert from Ocarina of Time actually morph into the Highlands, which are snow-covered? Well, I think this is the Zelda team's take on what would happen to a desert over a long enough period of time, and if it was being opposed by another desert just south of it, and I think how quickly the temperature can rise and drop in the Gerudo Highlands to the desert is really good evidence to this point. Maybe over time, even Gerudo Desert will befall to the same fate. One other thing that does go against that is the fact that most of us believe that the Spirit Temple and Arbiter's Grounds are the same thing, or are very similar at least. Because of the time frame of Breath of the Wild and Tears, it's hard to say whether the ruins of Arbiter's Grounds would even be the same thing from Twilight Princess, because I do have to wonder if the Hylians would continue to use Arbiter's Grounds after the events that take place in that original game. Though I could see the Hylians deciding to iterate on the same name. Even though the place is basically just rubble in the Era of Wilds, it really doesn't seem like this version of the area is the same as the one seen in the Era of Twilight. Next we move on to the Hero of Winds. His cap is found to the south of Tingle Island Chasm, and of course Tingle Island, the real one, is a pretty big landmark from his time. His trousers are also found in the Cressia Pit Mine, which is found below Soka Point in Hyrule, which is found directly next to where Lorelin Village is. For various reasons, a very large portion of the community believes that Lorelin Village is at least a representation of Outset Island in Breath of the Wild's world, so finding any amount of gear from the Hero of Winds here is interesting to me. And then we move on to the Hero of Twilight, who has the most interesting finds overall with a little bit of stretching. First of all, the Cap of Twilight is found in the Gleeok Den in the depths. The Gleeok Den is directly below Typhlo Ruins. Many have speculated that the Twilight and the Zonai might actually have some connection. If they do, which, I don't know, but it makes sense that the Cap of Twilight would be found somewhere with Twilight heritage, even if the Zonai aren't the Twilight completely. His tunic is found in the Wrist Mine, which is located in the Akala region, and basically that entire region's identity and existence before Breath of the Wild was given to it by Twilight Princess. So this doesn't seem like too far of a stretch for me. The biggest stretch for the Hero of Twilight is the trousers. They're found below Akala Citadel in the ancient underground fortress. Simply because it's an ancient fortress, my thinking shoots to the area symbolising the Palace of Twilight, because in a sense, that is also an ancient fortress, but maybe that's a little too sketchy. Finally, we come to the Hero of Skies. I found one very interesting point that could really easily be a coincidence. The Hero of Skies cap is found at Retsum Grove in the depths, and since it's found in the depths, I thought to try and turn the words around, and hey, look at that. Retsum backwards is actually the word Master, which of course is what Fi calls Link a billion times over the course of Skyward Sword. This may be coincidental, but I had a light bulb moment when I figured this one out. There are some other smaller bits with the Hero of Skies, but I really don't think they're as notable as the rest. Even though I said finally, there is of course one more Tunic I've been missing out on from the 3D games. The Tunic of Memories from Breath of the Wild. So how do you obtain the Tunic of Memories in Tears of the Kingdom? By discovering every single Bargainer statue, which I find very odd, to the point where I don't even really have anything to say about it. I think the great thing about Tears of the Kingdom having really messy mysteries that contradict Breath of the Wild is that every single mystery is more subjective than objective, and I find that's just nicer for the theory space. So back to the question at hand, why are other heroes' tunics in the depths? Well, I think one of the prevalent theories in recent months has been that the depths serve as a kind of underworld for Hyrule, with translucent figures lacing the darkness, and even more evidence that I don't think we should get into today. So I ask you once more, why would the tunics be in the depths if the depths symbolise an underworld? It's because the heroes died. And we know they all did, they must have done at some point, so their gear is left there for people to pick up, much like the soldiers found across the depths attempting to give you their gear presumably from the Calamity or elsewhere. My reasoning for this is everything that we've talked about in this video thus far. There are at least a connection or two to the hero in most instances of where each piece of the armor is located. Everything I've said about the locations themselves so far, less so the theories, are a fact. But I should outline some things. First of all, the Hero of Time died without his tunic. We know this because of the Hero's Shade in Twilight Princess, so that calls into question whether or not his tunic should be found in the depths if he didn't die in it. Personally, since the placements of the tunic full set is found in different places, I don't think any of the heroes died in their tunic, but each of the tunics does symbolise the courage within each of their hearts respectively. Their tunics aren't down there because they died with them on, but because the tunics are a part of them, and are a part of the legend that they found themselves in at that point in Hyrule's history. The Tunic of Wild is an interesting one. Once again, it can be found in the depths, but we know that the Hero of Wilds isn't dead, though I'm sure there will be theories on that in the future, let's be honest. If he isn't dead, then why is the Tunic of Wilds found in the depths with the rest of the tunics who belong to heroes from an age long gone? In Breath of the Wild, this set is given to you at the Forgotten Temple, and is said to have been crafted for a hero who travels the wilds, though it's just Link's size. The fact that this armour is elsewhere in Breath and Tears is really confusing, but since Tears of the Kingdom is now the latest game in the timeline, quote unquote timeline anyway, I'm going to be taking that game's version of the tunic as canon. My exact note on this after learning it said this: the gear of Wild is found at the Dark Great Skeletons in the depths because, I don't know, maybe this entire time we thought the Wild set was crafted for the Hero of Wilds, but there was a hero long before him who vanquished 3 great Leviathans, and so his gear is found next to them. It's a big stretch with almost no evidence, but like I said at the start of the video, you can barely get anywhere with Tears of the Kingdom theories without a heavy dose of speculation. But maybe another quote-unquote Hero of Wilds fell sometime in between the beginning of the New Kingdom of Hyrule and the events of Breath of the Wild. It was presumably a long time, so who knows. So while there are definitely some holes in my reasoning as to why old heroes' armour is found in the depths, I hope I've convinced at least some of you. Even, like 1 or 2, maybe. Down to the seeming lack of any actual timeline continuation before Breath of the Wild going forward after Tears of the Kingdom, it brings into question whether we should even be asking this question. But I think pondering stuff like this is fun. Plus, some of the things I found were pretty interesting to me, and I hope you thought so too. So why do you think other heroes' tunics are found in the depths? Let me know in the comments. Please subscribe for more weekly Zelda content, and you won't be a part of that 86% of people who are watching that aren't subscribed. Plus, like the video if you enjoyed it, it helps me a ton. Thank you to all of my amazing Patreon supporters and members, with an extra special thank you to both Sumji and Thomas Rudy Wong. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you all for watching. Please, stay safe.